a word about the advanced. It's a little harder. I try to bring you along with everything that I do. The advanced class is a little more difficult. It may involve more watching than participating. But I want to show you as much as possible. What I do show you is more advanced. So if there's something that is beyond where you're at the moment, don't panic. We can just remember it, and at some point when you need it, let us know, and we can work on whatever it is that you want to know about. So the first thing I want to show you is there is a feature here that tracks every single thing that you do on your project. It's called logging. It's on the left side. Again, it's a permission. If you click on logging, you will see everything that has been done on this project. You can filter it. So let's say that you want to just see records created. And here are just records created and the data that was entered at that particular time. If there was records that were updated, you can see exactly when they were updated and what that update was. So where can this come in handy? Well, it comes in handy in lots of different ways, but one of which is I had somebody once tell me that some data was deleted from their project. They had somebody, a participant entered and some data entered along with that participant, and it disappeared. So I could see that the participant did not exist in their project. So the first thing I did was look at the log. And I looked at the log, and sure enough, I could see the participant that was entered and all the data. So first, that means even if, and I say even if, even though this has never happened, but if data was lost somehow, there's a log of what that data was, and we could re-enter it. Or if you lost some data and you wanted to know what it was and you wanted to re-enter it, it's there in the log, everything that is done. It turned out in this particular case, this person had changed some aspects of the architecture of their project, and when they did, it broke the link to the data. Data was still in the database, but it was not visible to her. So, but it was the first place for me to start to say, what, did this record exist or not? So the log is a great place to go to find information that you want about your anything that's happened. If anybody has made a change to a record beyond that you want to see quickly, filter on things, there's the log. Next, I want to show you, this is a brand new feature to REDCap. It's called Alerts and Notifications. It's on the left. And if I click on Alerts and Notifications, it allows you to create alerts for events that happen, and you decide who is notified over a certain configured event. So if I click on this, I can create a notify Colleen. when a certain record is saved on a certain form, when a record is saved with conditional logic, data import. So if I say, and I see all my instruments here, so I'm going to say when a screening form is saved in any status, then send an alert immediately, just once, and email from. And these emails that you see, whether it's on a survey basis or whatever, I just want to make sure that you understand where they are drawn from. And these emails, this email dropdown consists of the email associated to every one of your users. So you could decide that you want this email to come from Colleen or someone else. In this case, it could be me, but there's also one here called REDCap at email.arizona.edu, which would be nice. I want to show you how to set that up in just a second. You decide who you want to send the email to and subject, and you create your whole message here. And when the event happens, like when a new record comes in or whatever, you can have an email sent to someone in your list there, or you can add people who are not associated to your project. All that can be done here in the notifications and alerts. As far as the standard drop-down and how you get something like a departmental email address to show up so that you can use that as a send from, I'm going to jump outside this for just a second and go back out to the home page or my projects and look at the top right. There's something that's called My Profile. If you look at My Profile and click on that, you'll see these are the settings for your account. If we misspelled your name, you could change your name. If you want to change your email address, you can do that. However, there is an option for secondary email and tertiary email accounts. So I have in here our departmental REDCap at email.arizona.edu email address so that I can use that to send if I want to set up a survey and have it come from REDCap at email. So when you return the email, it goes back to REDCap at email rather than to my personal email account. So that's how you get departmental email addresses associated to you that you can use in mailings. So that again is on your profile. Let me hop backwards, get back in my project. So those are alerts and notifications. There's a lot you can do with this. I'm not going to go into all of it. There is at some point I've mentioned that on our website, let me hop out there real quick just so you are remembering cb2.uhs.arizona.edu and go to services and tools. And I'm the first one on the left. And then if you look at the video tutorials, okay, on the video tutorials, these are things that there's training, and there's also Red Zone videos. So these are videos that have been done on Thursdays at 1 o'clock that you're more than welcome to join. The information is on the homepage for the REDCap application. But there is one on here that we just did recently, since this is sort of new. There's a feature called Alerts and Notifications, and if you want to know more about it, we explore it more in depth here in this video. So if you need help with that, and I recommend, like 6 months ago when this was just a vision, this is something that I wanted to do, to have all these videos of all these things. There's something we're going to talk about today in this class called external modules that are plugins that really enhance how REDCap can be used. But we also are trying to show aspects of REDCap that are a result of updates. Vanderbilt comes out with new functionality, so we want to explore that. So all these are videos, and you can look through here, find out what more information about any of these things. So okay, that was alerts and notifications. Let's look at the data dictionary. Now, the data dictionary is, first of all, something you can get at in a couple different ways. There is a dictionary option up here, but if you're in the Project Setup tab, there is a data dictionary right here for Design Your Data Collection Instrument, Data Dictionary. All right, the data dictionary is it is a CSV file that encompasses the entire architecture of your project. So, as compared to the code book, which I think we looked at the other day, which is just an image of all the options, the data dictionary is something fully functional that will allow you to make changes in mass to fields. You can export and import data dictionaries for projects. So let's just take a look at one. Run through this, I agree. I've downloaded my data dictionary. This is Chrome, so it's in the bottom left. If I open this up, you'll see what it looks like. So I have a spreadsheet here. All my variables are going down the first column on the left. The form names are here, section headers, everything that makes up the architecture of the project. It tells you what the field type of the variable is and the label, and if there's branching logic and if the validation, all of these things are here, alignment. So I think the easiest thing for me to show you in this particular case is let's pretend that this project is going to be used on a tablet and a phone, and we want everything to be left justified, okay? Left vertical justified. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I would have thought of this before. I could have set this on each field when I created it, but now here it is. I've got, what, 30, 40 fields. Now I'm going to have to go to each one and change the alignment. Well, you don't. If you take the data dictionary here, you take this alignment, and LV is the code for left justified and vertical. So I'm just going to take LV here, and I'm going to copy it and run down, paste it, into all my fields, right? And I'll save it. And you want to make sure you save it as a CSV file, okay? You can only move data and files as far as importing data or importing data dictionaries. They must be in a CSV file format, not as an Excel. Remember, if you do it by in Excel by mistake, you can always save it as a CSV file from there. So I'm going to choose the file that I just created, this data dictionary where I made that change, and I'll upload the file. I get a little green banner saying the upload was successful, but I have to commit the changes to make it complete. Changes are made, and now if I look at my record status dashboard and open up my screening form, notice everything is left justified. Okay, so I was able to apply that fully across all the fields. So in another example, Jen and I were talking yesterday, if there was a need to change certain variables and move them into different instruments, and you had like 20 or 30 variables that you wanted to move onto a different form, you could use the data dictionary, simply take those variables, identify the instrument that you wanted to apply them to, so changing the form that they're associated to, resort so all the forms variables are together in your CSV file, upload them, and then all of your variables have been changed to the correct form. So it's a great way for you to be able to make bulk changes if you want to. Data dictionary. Different again from the code book, because the code book is just a static, and people refer to data dictionaries. Do you have a data dictionary you can share with me? This is what they mean, not the thing that we just looked at. A code book is more what they are talking about. Data dictionary, though, allows you to, if you were collaborating with someone at a different institution and they wanted a copy of your project, one way to send them the architecture of your project would be to send them the data dictionary. They could then import that data dictionary. There's more than one way, but that is one way. All right. There's another feature that is really neat. I'm going to go to my online designer. These are called action tags. So I will come to my EKG form in this particular example. Now, in theory, the way this is set up, the EKG form is something that is generated every time you do the EKG, and in theory, you're entering this data the same day that you do the EKG. So it seems like a tiny waste of time to enter today, have to hit the today button every time you enter this. It would be nice if it just pre-populates with today's date. You can always change it, but it would be nice if it pre-populated. So I'm going to go to my EKG date, and there is down here something called action tags. Now, don't try to play with action tags unless you use the burgundy or red action tag button here. There are certain ones that are part of what are called external modules, which I will explain to you later. But for all the standard action tags, use this feature. And now let's take a look at all the different things that you can do with your field that aren't done naturally. So let's say you wanted to limit the number of characters typed into your field. You didn't want more than 256 or 100 or whatever. You can add this action tag and it will limit how many characters can go into a field. The default, if you wanted a number to automatically go in there or something specific, you can hide fields. You can hide fields on surveys. So for example, if you had a scored survey and you had the scoring at the bottom, but you didn't want to show the person that was filling out the survey what the score was, you could hide the score that appears at the bottom of the survey, and the person filling out the survey would never see it, but you would see it when you opened it up in your project. So in this case, I'm just going to slide down here. You can look at all these at your convenience. I'm going to select the Today option, and I'm just going to hit the Add button, and it's sort of going to appear that nothing has happened. But once you click it, see it yellowed out, and now it's kind of fading out, and you're like, well, did that anything happen? When you close this, you will see that there is the @today in the action tag. So it took, and the reason I say, it's better to use these buttons, invariably you can make a typo, you could do a lowercase, whatever. It has to be in the format that it appears here. I'm going to save this, then I'll go to my record status dashboard. I'll run down here. I'll create a new EKG here, and notice that today's date is automatically filled in. So that's an example of an action tag. There's so many different things that you can do with those. They're very dynamic. So since I mentioned action tags, it seems like it would be useful for me to mention external modules in the same conversation here. So action tags are something that you apply to a certain field. External modules are plugins for your whole project and allow you to do something really neat globally to your project. Now I'm going to save some examples of those to the end of the class to make sure I get through everything else I want to show you, but I do want to make sure that you know that they're there. Now, external modules, if you want an external module, first thing you have to know is what they are. I mean, what kind of modules are available to me. To find that out, you need to go to our website and look at the REDCap external modules. We keep the list of external modules and their descriptions here. So I'm not real fond of how the display of these works. Exactly, we're working on changing that, but this is something that is built into Drupal, which is the university web design system, but you can look through and see, in fact, today there's a demonstration at 1 o'clock of the big data import external module. If you want to know more about it, you click on it, and there is an option to view a description, a documentation here about what that module does. The more popular ones, the ones that I would like to make sure that you are aware of, probably the ones that are used the most. And again, if I get the chance at the end of the class, we have a little time, I will show you more in depth. The multilingual external module allows you to collect data in different languages and have it port into a single variable. So if you had a label that was first name and you wanted it in Spanish, or you wanted it in Portuguese, or you wanted it whatever, you would set this up and then have the option of creating the label in different languages, and yet the respondent, the participant, would enter their data and it would go into the same single variable. So for first name, you would get the first name. You wouldn't have to create a separate variable for the different language. In the past, it used to be very difficult. You might have to create two fields, one that was in English and one that was in, let's say, Spanish. Or you might have to type the Spanish and English both, maybe try and get them in different colors, but yet that was the only way to get them into one variable. So this multilingual external module is is something that's used a lot. So anyway, I'll try to go over a few of these, but you can scroll through these and see what they are about simply by opening them up and taking a look at what they are. All right. Let's look at importing data. If you have a legacy project and want to import it into your project, into your REDCap project, you can do that. There's no problem, but there are some steps that you need to make sure are set up so that you can do that. So I'm going to go back to my project setup here real quick. I'm going to turn off a couple features here. I'm going to get rid of my surveys, get rid of my longitudinal for now. Already got, okay, I think this will, so I have a data set sitting out there in a CSV file, and I want to, actually, it's just going to add participants. So I'm going to take my existing list. I have 4 participants here. I want to add from an external data source more participants and data that is associated to those participants. So the first thing I want to do is use this data import tool, fourth one down on the left on your applications. Click on the data import tool. I think it's useful for you to look at your data import template. So if I click on that and take a look at it, this shows you how you need to import your data. It has to follow these variable names. So if in your spreadsheet you have some variable that says FN for first name, well, you can't just use FN as a header. Your header must be first name. This is the variable, and your data will then follow that. So you may want to copy off of your spreadsheet and paste it underneath so that you have the correct variable name and they match. The second thing that may be involved in data cleanup, so for gender, remember we now enforce quality analysis techniques, meaning the gender will show up as 1 for male and 2 for female. If you have a spreadsheet that has male and female as characters, then you'll have to replace them with 1s and 2s so that it will import correctly. Same with ethnicity. Notice how race is set up. I showed you this in an export in the beginning class, but for the race, these are zeros and ones. If there's no, remember this is white, or Asian rather, and this is white, and so you're going to use zeros and ones here. If you're getting into that level and you need some help, let us know. But I'm just going to take this, and you don't have to import into every field. Okay, you can just take and import a segment. So I'm going to take a look at this data that I want to import. And let's see, I'll go here. So this is what oh, that's not it. I want, okay, so this is my data set. I've got my subject number, first name, last name, gender, ethnicity, email, date of birth, and these all match the variables that are in the system. But I don't have all the variables. I'm just going to import this data set. So I'm now still on my data import tool. I'm going to scroll up here. I'm going to choose my file, and let me find that again. Okay, I'm going to upload the file. And ideally, you should see this green. Your document was uploaded successfully and is ready for review. It has not been uploaded yet, even though it says that it's not complete. You can look through here and see what's being uploaded. And if there is an error, you will see the pink banner, and it will tell you exactly on your spreadsheet where your error is. What is preventing you from an upload? It will not let you upload a spreadsheet that has an error on it. So if you had male, M-A-L-E, for the gender instead of a 1 and 2, you would get an error to say what row and what column your error is, and you'd have to come back and change it. But this looks good the way it is. I'm going to come down here, and now I will import the data. It'll go through, import successful, and if I look at my record status dashboard, now I've got all these records in here. So that's how you import records. If you need help with that, redcap@email.arizona.edu. We'll be happy to help you with that. Yes? Yeah, let's look. Oh, good question. The question was, is there a copy of the file that you uploaded? First of all, in the log, you can see that these were auto-uploaded, and in the file repository, you could put that CSV file so that you stored it here so that you would be able to then see that or use it. Otherwise, no, it's not stored by itself, but you could put it here. it will overwrite. It will first of all show you that there is data there before you'll get a chance to review it, and then you'll be able to say agree or disagree. The question was, what if there's data already there? Will it overwrite or whatever? When you do the import, before you actually import, it will show you what data is there, and you can make a decision whether to make the import or not. Okay. Oh, and the other question was storing the original. If you wanted to store the file that you used for the import, you could put it in the file repository. All right, reports. These are kind of key to understand how to do the reports. Reports are done over here on the left, the same place that we did the data exports. So I'm going to click on the reports, and to create a report, there's a button here that says Create New Report. So I'm going to click on that. You have to give it a name. I'm just going to call this Test for the moment. You could put in a description as to what this report is. Then you can make a decision about who can edit and view the report, or who can edit, copy, and delete the report. So there's a couple of various ways you can set up your access. In this case, I'll just leave it open. Now, in step 2, you decide what fields you want to include in the report. So you can do this one of two ways. I suggest the easiest way is this quick add button. If you have a big project, a lot of instruments and a lot of fields, frequently this pre-populates with about 10 or 12 fields that are totally irrelevant to what you want. So, quick add. If you click on this button, you can immediately select or deselect variables, and so you might want to deselect all the variables and then pick exactly what you want. And it's very easy because you can see the forms at a glance as you go through here, decide what variables you want. For my report, I'm just going to get the date of birth, gender, ethnicity. Just going to grab those for the moment and close this. All right, then you have an opportunity to filter your report, and if you know the variable name, you can start typing it just by clicking in the box. So if you knew you wanted gender, you could just start typing gender. If you weren't sure, you could click on this little drop down here, which gives you the opportunity to select a field, say what you want to filter on, or there is an option here called live filters, which I particularly like. So I'm going to demonstrate that. I'm going to add gender and ethnicity to my live filters, and I'll show you what this means in a second. Then finally, you decide what order you want to sort your report. So if you want to sort it by subject number, you want to sort it by last name, first name, whatever, you can decide that, whether you want it ascending or descending. I'll just use the subject number and I'll save the report. And once I do, it gives me the opportunity to view it or go back to reports and exports or just keep on editing. I'm going to view the report, and here I have my report. The header shows you the label and the variable so that you know. And up at the top here are my live filters. So let's say I just, and also there is some metrics that show you the number of results that were returned based on the number of records it took a look at. So it returned 14 records and it looked at 14 records because that's how many are in the database. So I'm going to say, show me all the females. Click on that and it will filter your list on the fly. You can see now you have 6 females out of the 14. You want to see how many males you have. You've got 8 out of 14, and you can see what they are. If you want to see male Hispanics, you can filter it using both of the live filters. Non-Hispanic males. So I like the live filter if I'm going to want to do some quick counts on various groups of participants with certain criteria. Sometimes there are studies that want to look at certain diseases and maybe some certain conditions along with the disease. Let's say it's a respiratory illness database and there are a variety of respiratory diseases. They could filter on that and then show somebody who also has an accompanying cardiac condition of some kind. So you can start playing around with the filters, and if you have a repository where you have a list of all of your participants that you've worked with and all their conditions, and you have it's basically almost a contact database, and you can find people who meet criteria and contact them for a different study. Now, I'm saying all this, it's a clinical research study. Because I'm saying clinical, I'm going to assume that you know that you have to meet IRB criteria and all that, so don't just like jump ahead of me and say, you know, that's illegal. Well, you just make sure that you include the IRB and get your proper consents and all that. So, but that's one of the things about live filters and generating reports. Now, we did the calculated field, right? And come back here a second. And go to my designer, my screening form, go down to my BMI. So let's just say that I found out I had about 50 people in here, and I realized my calculation equation was wrong. It should have been 705 and not 703, or I put in 70 and not 703 like I should. I just missed a number. Well, so you think, no problem, I'll just go ahead and make the adjustment and save it, and then all is well. So I do my exports of my data, and I'm looking at that variable, and I'm like, something is wrong here. I have made the change, but those numbers are not working out. Okay, so when you make a change to a web form, notice that you always have to save the web form for the change to take place. Changes are not saved unless you save them intentionally. So just because you changed that equation, you didn't touch the record, so the record never changed. The calculation is what it was originally. So first thought is like, oh my God, I got to go into all 50 or 100 records and open them and save them and open and save them and open save them. No, obviously that would be crazy. So there is a feature on the left, again, because we're talking to the data, and it is called the data quality application. Down towards the bottom, click on data quality, and there are a list of things that you can use to kind of look at various rules regarding your project data. And I'm going to look specifically at H, incorrect values for calculated fields. So if you execute this, you would be able to see all the records that had incorrect values for their calculation. And with one click of a button, you could adjust all the values. REDCap would go through, recalculate all the fields, and make sure that the data is accurate. As you can see, there's other kinds of things in here. If you just wanted to look for blanks or blanks where you had required fields, you could look through here and see if there was any. See, there's none here. Are there any blank fields? Well, yeah, there's 286 because there's a lot of fields we didn't enter. If you took a look, it would show you exactly what fields are blank. You could work with that. Okay, so the question is, if you changed validation and some people were in compliance originally and now they're not, if you look at this, would it show you those people that are now out of compliance? And the answer is yes, it would. All right, so remove to make them compliant, or it's going to show you who they are, and then you can ignore them or make changes to that record. If you look at this, if I understand your question correctly, if you look at the view, you'll be able to see that you can exclude this from further data quality, or you can go to the record itself and make a change to it. Okay. Yes. If you click on exclude, it would remove it from future reports. Okay. Now I want to show you the mobile app. If you have any questions about the mobile app as I go through this, I'm going to show it to you from an installation standpoint, how you kind of set it up. Fortunately, I have on the Zoom session the guru for the mobile app. She has set this up in multiple locations in Mexico. She knows more about this mobile app than I will ever know about it, but I can show you how to set it up. But if you have a question, maybe she will be able to. You can either pop it into the chat session. She is TK Zepeda, and you could ask her specifically or put to everyone if you have a question that I'm not answering about the mobile app. So the mobile app is a fantastic addition to REDCap because it's, for one thing, it's not what you may think it is. It's not something that you go to Google Play or iTunes or whatever, and you find the app and put it on your phone, and you know, now you have a smaller version of the app or whatever. It has nothing to do with that. If you want to view your projects on your phone, put it in your browser. You can see your projects just as well on your phone. You don't need an app just to see your project. The app, mobile app, is to allow you to collect data on your project from people who do not have internet access, and you do not have internet access. you are out in a remote area and you want to collect data. So we have people in Africa. We have people, like I mentioned with Tanya, she's dealing with people in Hermosillo, areas that do not have internet access, and her coordinators are all over the place down there gathering data. We actually have people using it in northern Arizona, collecting data on water samples, and there's no internet access up there. So that is the purpose of the mobile app. It lets you put the app on your phone or your tablet, but it does not go on a laptop computer, just so you know. So I'm going to demonstrate this. I'm going to try and go back and forth between, I'd like to tell you it's a tablet, but there's people here in the room that would bust me. So this is, I am going to use a laptop, but in order to use the laptop, I have to use a emulator. So the question is, what is BlueStacks? BlueStacks is what's called an Android emulator. So because I would be putting this on an Android phone, this is sort of pretending. This is an application that lets you pretend that you are an Android device, and it sits on top of your laptop. So I probably hurt myself. I thought I'd try this time because I don't usually Zoom this. I thought I'd try and get this all fired up before I started, but I was afraid it might time out while I was waiting, which is what I think happened. So probably you could have I'm not sure about Apple. I'm not sure what kind of emulator you would have, but if you had something that emulated the operating system for an iPad, yes, you enter data in an offline mode, and then it synchronizes back up once you have internet connection. Thanks. All right. Try this again. All right, I'm going to move along here, and we're going to try and get this working, but I'm not going to just hold us up here any longer while we play with this. We'll try and get this running before the end of class. Otherwise, we'll post something online for you. Okay, let's talk about if you want to use videos in your project. So I'm going to go back to my online designer, and I'll go to my consent form. And let's say I record something instead of something textual, and have some people, they want to watch the video first, give them some idea about what they're signing on for. So I can add a field here, and this field type is going to be a descriptive text field. And with this, you can add images, audio, or video. So I'm just going to type in video for a field label. And then we're going to want to embed an external video. And to do that, we're going to grab a website. I'm just going to go over to open up a new window, and I go to YouTube and hope I don't stumble on something that's inappropriate for people. All right, let's grab a golden buzzer. All right, I'm going to okay, so I copied the URL here. I'm going to go back to my project, and in the area here, I'm going to type in the video. Now, I'll just leave it as it is. I'll save it. Now, there is a little button allowing me to watch the video. So if I look at my record status dashboard and I go to my consent form, you can see now that there is a watch video. If I click on the watch video, it brings this up and I can run it. All right, but there's another option. So if I go back to my online designer and I go and I edit my video and change this, I can have it inside the pop-up like we just did, or it can actually show in line. So if I save this, notice that it's now going to be totally visible. If I go to my record status dashboard, go to my consent form, now I can run it straight from this. Question was changing the size of the video, and there was options on YouTube to change the size of the video.
Even if you directly copy it.
So in the URL code, you can adjust the size of the video. We're using this. Well, I'm going to explain one more thing to you, and then I'll tell you how we're using it. There is another option in your project setup for something called Twilio. Twilio is a third-party application that piggybacks onto REDCap. So it allows you to make voice calls and send SMS texts to your participants using this Twilio service. And so you could invite somebody to take a survey by sending them a text message or calling them on their phone, and the data dumps into your phone without having to use a web page. It dumps into your project. So for if you're doing a voice call survey, the participant takes a survey and questions are asked one at a time, and Twilio uses text-to-speech sort of to read the question to the participant. But the participant then, because it's a voice call, is limited to responding by entering numerics from their keyboard. So, you know, if you ask a question like, do you like ice cream, press 1 for yes and 0 for no. Or what is your age? Questions like that can be done using voice calls. If you are using an SMS survey, you can ask a question and have them type in a response. So they're going to use their alphanumeric keypad just like they would a messenger system. There is a cost, though, for Twilio. So every message that you send, you set up your account with Twilio, and then there is a charge for every message that you send out. Having said that, the cost for all the messages is incredibly small. I mean, hundredths of a cent. So it's easy to send out hundreds of messages and incur hardly any cost at all. Twilio is very customer service driven. They've been great working with our REDCap projects. If you need to set up an account with them, they will pre-populate your account with seed money, so you don't have to start off by funding anything. You will have to ask them to make your account active or something like that. Otherwise, there's problems with it working right off the bat. But all you have to do is call them and talk with them, and they'll set everything up for you, and then you can immediately start sending texts. Now, where we're using it is in a project where there is a institution that wants to look at safety videos for their nurses, and they have somebody that's very skilled and actually used to work for a broadcasting system. I think it was ABC or CBS or whatever in production. And so this person has made videos for nurses to watch and then sign off on as far as questions that and document that they saw. But this needed to be done securely, needed to be able to send this and have them fill out their responses securely. And SMS is not any text system is not a quote-unquote secure method. So, by the way, if you're trying to collect any kind of protected health information, you will need you'll need to make sure that the participant is aware of that it is, not secure, and that you have to be granted special permission from the participant to collect that information. Anyway, so what we do is we send the link to the nurse for the project, and actually it's a survey. So they click on their link, the survey automatically opens with the video, and they can then watch the video, safety video, and then decide, answer the questions underneath it. So it sort of combines Twilio with this video piece. So it's kind of a neat little project that uses both of them. Okay. You can also embed an image, by the way, this way. There was the option in the design, I selected video, but you could just as easily embed an image. Okay, and just put the JPEG or GIF file or whatever in here, and it will work out fine. You upload the image file, and then you do the same thing as far as it will appear automatically in line, or it depends on whether it's an audio file or whatever, but you can do an image that way also. So the final thing I want to touch on real quick is the ability for you to really do some dynamic things with how your project looks. REDCap is built around a web-based system, and it will allow you to use something called HTML. Now, I know that is a coding language, and nobody really wants to learn a coding language. If you're a research coordinator, you want to be a research coordinator, you don't want to have to learn HTML. But HTML is very, very basic, and we've tried to make it easy for you. So if we go back to my projects, if we go to that area, my projects or the home page, and if you look at the new projects and you create a project. I'll just call it test HTML, and we'll say that it is practice. But this time we're going to grab a template, okay? And there's a template here that is called HTML examples. So if I click on that and create the project, okay, and now I look at my online designer, I'm going to see all kinds of different ways of using HTML. So I'm going to look at my banners first and scroll down. These are different ways you can show a header. All right, changing, you can center them, change the background color. You can make them really pop by turning the corners around and adding grid. And all these are available to you in the design mode. So if you look at the design, you'll see all the HTML. And granted, this looks daunting, but all you're really concerned about is changing text. So in this particular example, I'm looking at information. Maybe I want to say, hello world, instead of all that stuff under information. I just find where the text is, which is here. You know, this is the text, and I just cut this and I type in what I want, and save it. And now I've got, I've used the template for this, and I can pop it into my project. So there's a lot of different ways of using HTML. When you have questions about HTML, you can go out to websites and look up like how to say something like centering a header is simply using the brackets center. And unfortunately, we're about out of time, so it's not, we're going to run out of time here, but here is a way to align things. But we put this on the website so that you can download these and you don't have to learn HTML yourself. You can just grab some of this and paste it into your project if you want. There are some different ways of doing labels and text. REDCap did come out with a new feature recently. If I go back to my drug study, I can look at my designer and go to my screening form. And if I want to make changes, for example, in my first name and how it looks, there's something now called use the rich text editor above the field, next to the field label, and it allows you to do a lot of different things here now, like if you want to change background color to some color and save it. Now you can see, you'll see it when the go to your record status dashboard. Oh, it doesn't show up because of we're in that field. But anyway, the record, it will allow you to make all kinds of changes to your text that you can also do with HTML. Anyway, we're out of time. Thank you all for participating. I'm sorry for the little glitch with the mobile app. We'll post something online for you. And have a nice weekend, and thank you all for attending the classes. I really appreciate it.